Seeing the same object as a flower, or seeing the same object as millions of atoms, which of the two is true? Likewise, if I'm drinking water, or say, if I'm drinking water, and I ask what am I doing? So most of the people will say you are drinking water, and the chemists will say that you are drinking H2O, and the physicists will say that you are drinking, you are just gulping electrons, protons, neutrons. Tell me, which of the three answers is correct? All are correct. You cannot say that one is correct, not one is wrong. All are correct. Yet, these three answers have different potentials to give rise to different emotional states. When you see the same object as water, drinking water, you feel quenching the thirst. You feel like, oh, it's pleasant, nice, I like to have it, particularly Guwahati in which month? Very hot. Which month? September. September?
No.
July, August. July. Okay, let's say July. July, and no, there's no AC. The power cut, and we are just being boiling up. And then water, you just crave for water. So I like to drink water. The moment you see this glass of water, you feel so happy. This emotional reaction because of this particular perception. Whereas if you see this is a bunch of electrons, protons, neutrons, this feeling of craving will not come to you. This feeling of joy will not come to you. So seeing the same object in three different perceptions will give you three different emotional reactions. So the first one, what makes you to react in a very happy, enjoyable way is by seeing the object on the macro level. And the same object can be seen in the macro level. So the form is empty. The form, how we see things on the macro level, this is where all the functional objects are operating. Functional world is operating. The moment you go into the empty level, that is the micro level, all these functionalities cease. For example, say you will not enjoy this as a flower the moment you see this through the electron microscope. So the functionality of the flower stops when you go into the macro level. So this is where the same object can be seen in two different perspectives. One the macro and one the micro. So now quantum physics is dealing more with the macro, on the macro level. So from this basis, when you speak about quantum physics, right? Quantum physics, all what we do here, whether or not, say for example, say the cat, Schrodinger's cat experiment, the cat in the box with the poison, whether the cat is dead or alive. According to quantum physics, you have to say half dead, half alive. But this doesn't make any sense in the conventional world. If it's dead, dead. It's not half dead. Right? So this is where the moment you go into the micro world, the concepts of the macro dissolves. The moment you go into the macro world, the concepts of micro doesn't make any sense. So this is where how to unite the two things, macro and a macro. So quantum physics itself admits that what the object is not determined by the objective reality. It's all determined by the observer. Independent observer makes no sense. So likewise, observer makes the difference, because the observer, depending on the micro observer or the macro observer. If it's a macro observer, what you see is the macro. You don't see the macro. If it's a micro observer, what you see is the macro. You don't see the macro. So there, say we cannot unite the two things with one thing as a frame of reference. With one observer, with a single observer as a frame of reference, you cannot speak about the macro and the micro together. If you try to do that, you are mixing the two realities, and then you will end up in soup. So therefore, the point is, form is empty means form which is seen from the point of view of having the macro as the frame of reference. You will see this form. With a micro observer as the frame of reference, you will see the empty side. So likewise, what is seen as empty side by the micro observer will be seen as a form with respect to the macro